Hey folks, it's Justin here, and with all these really cool festivals and shows coming up, I thought I'd do a little one of these videos I've been planning to do for a while, a top 5 festival camping tips. And I'm going to make this as short as I can, a little video to kind of help out folks who are maybe going to a festival for the first time or like some tips to make their campsite better. This is going to be more focused on the folks who are tent camping and stuff like that. But so let's get right into it. These are my top 5 festival camping tips to make your adventure even more fun. And these may not be fun in the beginning, but I'm telling you, this will make sure that your trip is great. First thing is pre-festival research. That's the biggest thing, especially if you've not been to this venue before. You need to make sure that you call ahead of time, find out any kind of information on the festival you can, maybe a layout, find out where the best camp spots are, if there's anybody who has opinions on that, if you can grab one of those campsites, where the restrooms are, all that kind of stuff. Do some research on the weather, especially when you're just a couple days out. That'll help you know what kind of gear you need to bring and what clothing you need to plan for. You find out ahead of time what food's going to be there, so you know what you need to pack as far as food. Your pre-festival planning, your research will be the biggest thing that is going to affect how your whole camping trip's going to be. So it may seem a little tedious, but definitely go through, look at reviews for the campsite you're going to be at, talk to folks who've been there before, and find out weather, food, restrooms, all that kind of stuff ahead of time before you even get there, so you know what you need to bring with you. That's number 1. Do your research. Number 2, and this was the hardest thing for me to figure out, you need to check your gear before you go. Even if this tent is brand new and you've never pulled it out of the box before, there could be defects, there could be problems, there could be things missing that you didn't realize. Sometimes they sell these tents and they're supposed to have a rain fly, and it shows on the box that there's a rain fly. Then you'll get the tent to the site and there's not a rain fly, and all of a sudden you're running out to grab a tarp so you can put it over top of your tent. So get your gear, and even if you have used this tent before, and this has happened to me, I had a tent that worked really well the last time I took it out, and it was in great condition, but it had spent a few months in the garage, and somehow, some way, somebody had stepped on it, or something had happened, and there was a big cut in the tent, and I didn't realize that until I got to the site. So that kind of actually got me down this road of laying stuff out. So if you have a driveway or something, take your tent, set your tent up in the driveway, make sure it doesn't have any holes or any problems with it. Same thing with your air mattress or cot, make sure they're in working order, no holes, no breaks, anything like that. Just all the stuff, ripped fabric, all those kind of things. Extra tent poles, make sure your tent poles all connect. You know, there's a little stretchy band of thing inside that breaks really easy, especially if it sits and hasn't been used for a while. So lay your gear out. Everything you're going to use, lay it out, go through it, check it, make sure it's all in working order. And that kind of leads me into the next one, which is number 3, make a list. If you know you're going to a festival in a couple weeks, start making your list now. Start from the big items like your tent and your mattress and a fan or whatever you use when you are camping. Kelly and I just got a cot, a big huge cot thing. It's pretty cool. So we have all of our stuff, but we start making a list ahead of time. Your gear you're going to need, the food you're going to need, clothing, everything that you think you're going to need. Make a list, put it on a tablet or write it down on a piece of paper so you have it. Go through that list like you're freaking Santa Claus. Check it twice. Make sure you have all the stuff you need, and don't just do it in your head. Physically touch the thing you need and then put it in the bag. And the military, they make you do this before you go overseas. You have bags full of stuff and you literally lay it out piece by piece, and somebody comes by and makes sure you have everything you need. Because when you get to a festival, it could be in the middle of nowhere, there couldn't be a store close by. You don't want to be missing something vital that's going to make your trip miserable. I've done it before where I was missing a jacket or a toboggan or something like that, and I was freezing, or I'd gotten to a place and didn't realize my air mattress had a hole in it, and all of a sudden we filled it up and it looked like a taco was wrapped around me when I woke up in the morning because I had a hole in it and I sank right through it. So lay all your gear out, check all your gear, go through your list, and make sure everything that's on your list is in with your gear, okay? The 4th thing, I call it a Fixit Kit. Anytime you go camping, you can be the best planner in the world. You can check your gear before you go. You can do all that stuff. But for some reason, you get in transit to the place, or you start laying your gear out, and all of a sudden, something's broken, something's ripped, all that kind of stuff. So I always bring what's called a Fixit Kit. Number one, you need some duct tape, or whatever you guys like to call it, 100-mile-an-hour tape. But duct tape does great, folks, for like half a dozen problems. Even some injuries. If you get cut while you're camping, or you get cut while you're in the woods hiking, and you don't have any other bandages, even duct tape on a bandage will help for a bit. So duct tape is super, super important. Parachute cord is another thing. Tying things to trees, tying things up that need to be hung. Maybe you have critters and stuff, you want to keep food up high. Parachute cord, or there's a bunch of different words for it. You can also use fishing wire. That's another good one. The problem with fishing wire is it's hard to see. So people can trip over it, and you can hurt yourself with it. It can be very sharp if you hit it at any kind of speed. So parachute cord, you can find both of those things at Walmart. It's no problem at all. First aid kit with your normal medicines. Look, if you get headaches, put some Advil or some Excedrin was what I like to use in my med kit. Little bandage stuff, cut stuff, minor things. Obviously, if it's anything worse than that, you're probably just going to need to leave anyway. But I would definitely have a minor kit with some minor medications. Benadryl is another great thing to bring with you, especially if you're allergic to ants or bug bites or anything like that. Even if you don't know you're allergic, Benadryl is a great thing to have with you. And plan that as well. If you have medications you take normally, throw some extra of that medication in your med kit. So it's just nice to have with you. Another thing is a Leatherman. My dad, he kind of got me into that. He always keeps one with him, and it's especially when you're camping, there's so many times where you can use a multi-tool. It has a screwdriver, it has a knife, it has scissors, it has like a million different things in it. And there's so many times where you need to cut a parachute cord to tie it onto something, or you need to cut open a package. You bought a headlamp, and you didn't realize it was super child-proof, and you couldn't get to it. So it's, again, and you can find Leatherman anywhere from $20 to $200. So you can find them all. It doesn't have to be Leatherman brand. I'm just using that as an example, but that's another great thing to have in your Fixit kit. And then extra batteries is a plus. I would have one extra set of batteries for every device you're using. Every single device have a separate set of batteries for that. And then finally, air mattress patches. Listen, again, about the taco thing, it's not fun if you're planning on sleeping on an air mattress. And even the slightest thing, I had keys in my pocket once, and I sat down on my air mattress to put my shoes on, and the keys nicked the mattress. In that night, I had to patch the mattress up in order to sleep on it. So again, air mattress patch. So good. Make a Fixit Kit. Fixit Kit. Keep that with you. Keep it in with your camping gear, or keep it in your vehicle. It's a good to have for almost anything. So I would just have the Fixit Kit. And the last one, which I think is the most important thing for when you're camping, is location, location, location. Listen, there's plenty of campsites available, especially if you're rough camping. You know, there's usually a million different places at a festival that you can rough camp. You just got to keep a bunch of stuff in mind. So first off is noise. If you're going to camp by other people, you should expect a lot of noise. You should expect a lot of jamming. And part of the things I typed into the typed version of this, not the video, if jamming bothers you, you probably shouldn't be at a festival camping. I'm just telling you. But if there's no other choice and you have to be there, get yourself as far away from people as possible if you expect any amount of noise reduction. I would say, and keep in mind, if there's a creek by you, that's noise. If there's a road by you, that's noise. So if you're a really light sleeper and you don't want to be woken up, you definitely need to find a very remote space. Another thing is level ground. Listen, sleeping with your head lower than your feet is a miserable thing. I promise you, you will not enjoy it. Make sure your ground is level, free of tree roots and other things that possibly can cut the bottom of your tent, which takes away the water seal, or can cut your air mattress. Again, it's happened to me. So level ground, and that's one of the hardest things to find, because one of the things I'll talk about in a second is shade, and trying to find shade and level ground at the same place can be tough. So again, level ground is one of the most important things if you want comfortable sleep. Even if you're sleeping on a cot, level ground will make a difference. Again, lowland versus highland. If weather is going to be a factor, snow or water, you definitely need to put yourself in a high area. Just keep in mind, if there's natural elements that look like a creek or a hill or anything like that, you don't want to be at the lowest level of that. Any slightest amount of rain, water will pool at a low level. So if you can get yourself on a ridge, on a cliff, on a hill, somewhere on a higher space that doesn't have something feeding directly down into it, you will thank yourself. Even if you think your tent is watertight, usually it's only the first few inches of a tent from the bottom up that is watertight. Usually if you have water really pooling at the bottom of a hill, It'll come right in that tent, usually, unless you have just like a super tent, which, you know, lucky you. No, like I said before, shade, that's a huge thing. Look, I camp a lot in the state of Florida and Georgia and places like that, and it's at a million degrees half the time. And it's just miserable if you don't have the right kind of shade. And keep in mind too, when you're going to sleep, if you're a person that goes to bed late and sleeps in, you need to make sure you have as much shade late into the morning as possible. If you're one of those people that gets up early in the morning, but you also go to sleep early, then you need to adjust yourself that way. And just keep in mind, the mornings are warm, but the afternoons are even warmer. You know, between 1 and 3 and 4 in that area is the warmest part of the day. So ideally, shade the whole time would be great, but just keep in mind when you plan on sleeping, and make sure you have shade when you plan on sleeping. And then finally, restrooms. Listen, if you're totally rough camping it, you're going to do like a bucket or a tree or something like that, or dig a hole, then more power to you. But if not, you know, restrooms make a big deal. If you're camping in a place where you're gonna walk to use the restroom at night, you know, and it's gonna be, you know, through a wooded path or you know, somewhere not well lit. Just keep that in mind when you're choosing your camping space. Usually won't know during the day how light it's going to be, so you should just plan on it being pitch black. So keep in mind when you're picking your camping spot, if I'm going to walk to the restroom, or if I have somebody who needs to use the restroom frequently at night, that's definitely something you want to be cognizant of. Be as close as possible to the restroom. So that's it, folks. That's my 5 camping tips. Pre-plan as much as you can, okay? Lay out your gear. Check every inch of your gear. Make a list. Go through your list. When you're checking your gear, go through your list. Make sure every piece is there that you need, okay? Every piece. Make yourself a Fixit kit so you're prepared when things go wrong, because you're not going to be able to just run out to the store half the time and get this stuff. And then finally, choose the right location for your campsite and for your tent. If you follow those 5 things and you plan ahead of time and you have your gear all checked and it's on your list and you're prepared for any kind of emergencies that you can fathom, and you pick the right location, again, the rest of the stuff's gonna be easy. You know, you'll have fun. You'll decorate your tent. You can do all that kind of stuff. You know, a lot of people like to lay flooring down, and I'll do another tip video to talk about how to make camping easier or better and that kind of stuff. But this is much more about pre-planning. If you plan ahead of time, you will have fun. So that is the Justin Mason pre-festival camping tips. And Kelly's here, but she's off screen making faces at me. So she doesn't want to be involved in this video. But she's usually the one nagging at me about not doing these things. So anyway, 5 festival camping tips, and I'll see you guys later.